Sometimes good movies have a moment when the movie literally levels up to something really special for the viewer. It's sort of like when Khan and Kirk square off in Star Trek II for the first time. The movie's great. It's really good and engaging up to that point, and then boom.
Time's up, Admiral.
Here it comes. Now, Mr. Spock.
That scene happens and you're all in. Another good example for me is in Big Trouble in Little China when Jack and Wang bump into, a Chinatown gang war and then literally run into Lo Pan. At that point, I'm all in. Chips are in the middle of the table. And while I'm sure that we can all agree that our film watching experience is subjective, there is a moment in Lethal Weapon that was so engaging and cool that I realized that I was watching a film that I would watch over and over and over again from that point on. In this video, I'm going to talk about that very moment when Lethal Weapon became a classic. In some ways, the story of Lethal Weapon is nothing new. We see something similar dynamics-wise in the excellent 48 Hours from a few years before. With Lethal Weapon, we get a story with compelling stars in the lead roles. Riggs, Mel Gibson, is a cop who is suffering from the loss of his wife. He's suicidal and he takes risks in his job that ride the line of insanity. And Murtaugh, played by Danny Glover, is a veteran cop who is celebrating his 50th birthday and eyeballing the day when he will retire. Both men are war veterans. Riggs was in the Special Forces. The tension between these two cops is instant, and so is their chemistry. And it's easy to see from early on that these two might become friends. And as the film progresses, the partners get caught up in a case that involves one of Murtaugh's old war buddies. There's drugs, a dead girl, and a group of criminals that are highly trained and ruthless. What is not to love about Lethal Weapon? Eventually, and of course inevitably, Riggs and Murtaugh get too close to the truth, and our villains go after and kidnap Murtaugh's daughter, Rianne. It's here that we come to the shootout that took, for me, Lethal Weapon to the stratosphere, and it made it an instant classic. The setup is great. After Riggs and Murtaugh realize Rianne has been taken, they have this conversation.
You know they're gonna kill her, don't you?
Yes.
And if you want her back, you're gonna have to take her away from them.
I know.
Right. We do this my way. You shoot to kill. You get as many as you can. All you gotta do is just not miss.
I won't miss.
We're gonna get bloody on this one, Roger.
If you haven't done it at this point, this is when you start to push the chips into the center of the table. The tension and the excitement created at this point is wonderful, and it is really a testimony of the excellence of Shane Black's script and Richard Donner's direction. What is great is that they are in this together, Riggs and Murtaugh. And I love films that show how a friendship can cope with insane odds. And that's what leads to the shootout that makes this a classic. The shootout in many ways is everything you want in an action film. Riggs is believed to be dead, and he positions himself at a distance with a sniper rifle. Murtaugh, he goes into the lion's den to get his girl, his daughter. And what unfolds is awesomeness. It's interesting to me. When I saw this as a kid, a teenager, and then like a young adult, I loved the scene. It was it. The movie becomes a classic. I can't stop watching it over and over again. It was top notch. When I watch this as a father, whole different deal. It is still awesome, but I filter it through my brain a bit differently. I would go through all of them to get my daughter back. And I think fathers, as you reminisce on Lethal Weapon, I think you could agree there's just something in our brains that clicks a little differently when we watch this scene. Back in the scene, Riggs just works over the bad guys. Donner does a great job of heightening the tension. It's like filmmaking in some ways 101, just places the camera in such a way that we're seeing the view from Riggs' point of view, but that adds the drama to the situation, especially when Riggs is constantly saying, move out of the way, move it out of the way. He wants to get Joshua, and he's just waiting for that shot. And what I love about this whole sequence and this script is when it takes our heroes into a place where they hit rock bottom. They don't pull out the win here. They get captured. And things get even more bloody. And then they come out on the other side victorious. Shane Black's script is gold in that it takes the duo and Rhiannon in many ways to what seems like an unwinnable position. But it's this shootout that makes all of this work. It is a bloody fight, and we are wondering just how our heroes can come out on top after they've been captured. When we watch this scene, we know this movie is a classic, and we're all in.